Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a hard look at a critical, and let's be totally honest, sometimes super stressful part of your business engine, payroll. Specifically, we're going to talk about how to stop guessing and start measuring. We'll explore how replacing payroll guesswork with measurable, trackable signals can completely transform your HR performance and really protect your organization from hidden liabilities. Let's get right into it.
Imagine this for a second. You're an HR leader. It's the end of the month, payroll just ran, and your inbox is perfectly quiet. No angry emails, no urgent pings about missing funds. It feels like a massive win, right? But put yourself in the shoes of an HR leader sitting across from a very unamused financial auditor. If they ask you to prove your payroll is accurate, is your best defense really just going to be, well, nobody's complaining? I mean, that's a high-stakes gamble. Relying on the silence of your employees to measure the success of your payroll department is an incredibly dangerous strategy.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the reality is the absence of complaints is a lagging indicator at best and a massive blind spot at worst. If you're waiting for an employee to complain about a missing reimbursement or an incorrect deduction, your process has already failed. You're just reacting to a problem that's already eroded trust. To truly manage payroll, you need a dashboard, not just a rearview mirror.
So, here's our agenda for building that exact dashboard. We're covering 4 things: the payroll blind spot, core payroll KPIs, the compliance risk, and finally, turning metrics into action.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the payroll blind spot, and moving beyond the silence. We need to establish exactly why HR leaders absolutely need hard visibility into their operations instead of just relying on the status quo.
Consider this quote: "A payroll function with no visibility cannot answer a basic question a CFO or auditor will eventually ask: how do you know payroll is accurate? Without defined key performance indicators, or KPIs, the only honest response you can give your CFO is that no one really knows until something breaks. And in the world of finance and HR, I don't know just isn't going to cut it. Metrics tell you if you're meeting employee obligations on time, if statutory deductions are landing right, and if your team is wasting their time fighting fire errors instead of doing strategic work."
That brings us to Section 2, core payroll KPIs, the dashboard for your HR engine. These are your operational warning lights. Here are the core metrics you actually need to be tracking. Now, there are a million variations out there, but this essential handful: payroll accuracy rate, payroll error rate, payroll cycle time, compliance rate, error resolution time, and cost per employee processed. This covers the vast majority of what really matters. If you're tracking these, you know for sure whether your organization is meeting its obligations efficiently and accurately. Let's break down the most vital ones right now.
First up is the payroll accuracy rate. The definition here is super straightforward. It's the number of error-free payroll runs divided by total runs multiplied by 100. This is arguably the most relevant KPI on your entire dashboard. It's the gold standard, really, because it directly ensures that payments have actually come through correctly for your people. Consistently tracking this across cycles immediately shows you whether your baseline accuracy is getting better or slipping.
Now, what's really interesting is the inverse metric, the payroll error rate, which is typically measured as errors per 1,000 payslips processed. Instead of just looking at what went right, this forces you to categorize exactly what went wrong. By tracking specific types of errors per 1,000 payslips, stuff like incorrect Ross of pay calculations, wrong deductions, or missed reimbursements, you stop looking at just how often things break, and you start seeing exactly where the process is breaking.
Then we have payroll cycle time. Think of this as the duration from your initial data collection, pulling attendance, leaves, new joiners, exits, all the way to the final salary disbursement. Why does this matter? Well, because longer cycles almost always mean more manual handoffs. And in payroll, more handoffs literally multiply the opportunities for something to go wrong upstream before you even get to the calculation. A high cycle time is often a massive red flag for hidden inefficiencies.
Okay, things get a bit more serious in Section 3, the compliance risk, and why accuracy is a legal imperative. This is where a slip in those metrics becomes a huge legal and financial exposure.
For instance, if you're operating in India, you're bound by some incredibly time-sensitive statutory deadlines. By the 7th of the month, you face the strict tax deducted at source, or TDS, deposit deadline. And by the 15th, you hit the Provident Fund and Employee State Insurance deposit deadlines. These dates, they are absolutely non-negotiable. If your payroll cycle time drags, or your accuracy rate requires constant manual corrections, you risk missing these dates entirely.
So the crucial point here is understanding the fundamental difference between an operational miss and a compliance miss. An operational miss, like a late payslip or a minor calculation error, erodes employee trust. That's bad, for sure. But a compliance miss, like missing one of those deposit deadlines we just talked about, that triggers immediate, aggressive consequences. A missed PF deposit accrues interest instantly. A missed TDS deadline triggers its own separate penalty structure and opens you up to intense audit exposure. This right here is exactly why your compliance rate KPI carries more weight than almost any other metric.
Let's look at another sneaky compliance trap: the code on wages. There's a strict legal requirement that basic pay must constitute at least 50% of the total salary, versus 50% for other allowances. If you're tracking your payroll error rate and you suddenly notice a concentration of errors in wage-based calculations, that isn't just a simple math mistake. That is frequently an early warning system telling you your salary structures actually violate the code on wages. So a metric that looks like a basic efficiency number is actually acting as your legal radar. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4. Turning metrics into action, or fixing the engine. It's time to operationalize these insights.
You see, passively observing a dashboard doesn't fix a broken engine. You have to know how to use the data, and this brilliantly illustrates exactly what to do. How do you investigate when a metric trends downward? You don't just ask what happened, you ask where did it happen. You have to look at the 4 distinct stages of the payroll lifecycle. 1. Data collection, 2. Calculation, 3. Approval, and 4. Disbursement. If your cycle time is blowing up, is it because managers are dragging their feet in the approval stage? If your error rate is spiking, is it happening upstream during attendance data collection? Pinpointing the exact stage is how you actually execute a fix.
But, and this is important, tracking all of this only creates real business value if you review it on a strict schedule. On a monthly basis, aligned perfectly with the payroll cycle itself, you should be reviewing your accuracy rate, error rate, and compliance rate. Then, on a quarterly basis, you zoom out to look at longer-term trends, specifically evaluating your cost per employee and your overall cycle time. A quick but absolutely vital rule for these reviews: always benchmark against your own past cycles, not just industry averages. Why? Well, because frankly, there is no universal benchmark that fits perfectly. Your ideal error rate depends entirely on your organization's specific size, complexity, and risk tolerance. What actually matters is that your own internal numbers are trending downward over time. That proves your function is continuously improving.
So I want to leave you with this question. How does your internal payroll baseline measure up today? Look, payroll KPIs take a department that's usually only judged when something breaks and turns it into one that can continuously prove it's working smoothly and compliantly. It builds immense credibility with your CFO and protects your entire organization. So whatever you do, don't wait for the next complaint to tell you how you're doing. Start building your reporting infrastructure, start tracking these core KPIs, and take control of your HR engine today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.